Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Hofstra. Oh, it is a good morning, huh? We had our Wheaties this morning. First to Mayor Hall, who's doing a great job. It's a pleasure to be with you. Let's give him a big round of applause. County Executive Ed Mangano. The county executive is exactly right. It is hard to be in government when there is no money. And you have all the pressing demands of running the government, and everybody wants more. But the economy is tough, and it really is a much, much different exercise to be in government when you're in a down economy than when you're in an up economy and the money is coming in. In some ways, it's more challenging, it's more difficult, but you can also do more good because there's actually the time when you can make a lot of reforms that needed to be made. And it's a point in time where it's difficult, but the choices have to be made, and you can make the choices that have been put off for a long time. The county executive is bringing energy and creativity to his job. He's aggressive in seeking out reform. He's aggressive in finding ways to make Nassau County, and that's what public service is all about. Let's give him a round of applause, County Executive Ed Mangano. President Rabinowitz, it's a pleasure to be with you. I have been to Hofstra a number of times. I was waiting for the honorary degree, by the way. How many times do I have to come before I get an honorary degree? Next one. 4 is the charm. I had my big debate at Hofstra, my gubernatorial debate. It was a high-pressure, high-stress moment for me, showing up at the debate. The winner of the debate was Jimmy McMillan, because the only thing people remember from that debate is the rent is too damn high. So he communicated most effectively. Can anyone remember anything that I said in the debate? No. Does everyone remember the rent is too damn high? Yes. Jimmy McMillan won the debate, but I won the election. I'm glad to see the President is looking forward to hosting the presidential debates, and he mentioned he's losing weight, getting ready. I think he may be discovered at the next series of debates because he has a future in this business. Doesn't he look good up here as sort of a master of ceremonies, doesn't he, President Rabinowitz? Couldn't you see him as one of the judges on American Idol? Tell the truth. I think he could do that. The President is doing a great job with Hofstra. He's also exactly right, using Hofstra in the public debate and in the public arena, because these choices are important, and the dialogue around these choices is important, and the conversation is important, and Hofstra has played that role exceedingly well. And I thank him personally for the time and the effort that he's made on the issues that I've been working on, but Hofstra has been providing this service on the local level, state level, federal level for a long time. He's done an extraordinarily good job at it. Let's give him another round of applause, Professor Rabinowitz. President Rabinowitz. As you heard, I've been governor since January, so it's been a few months, about 5 months. They were a long 5 months, I want you to know. If you add up the hours worked in those 5 months, it's more like 7 years. It has taken its toll. I was at an event a couple of weeks back with my brother Chris. Chris is the baby of the family. He's a little bit of a wise guy, and he's a journalist, so that's a bad combination when you put those two things together. But we're at an event, and a woman who I hadn't seen in a while walked up to me, and she said, "You know what? You're looking more distinguished." I said, "Nice, that's nice, distinguished." I turned to my brother, I said, "See, she says I look distinguished." He said, "Yeah, that means you have more gray hair than she remembers." Which happens to be true, and it takes family to tell you. But we've gotten a lot of good things done in the past 5 months. And now, as you heard from the President and the County Executive, now we're on the second half of the legislative session, if you will. We had a great first half of the session. The legislators then go away for their break, and they now come back. And the question is what we're going to get done in the second half of the legislative session because they leave in June. And this is the agenda for the second half of the session. I believe very much in what the county executive was talking about, the town halls, town forums. I believe in going to the people. I believe in explaining to the people the facts and asking the people to make their voice heard. You want to make government work? You want to change government? Only the people in this room can do it. And that's what today is all about. Let me give you some facts. We call it the People's First campaign. I was elected for 3 goals. Number 1, to get the economy in the state running. Number 2, to clean up Albany, ethics reform, give you a government that you can trust after all the years of scandal, and return New York to the legacy of social progress. Phase 1 is completed, and we're off to a good start because of the passage of the state budget. The state budget was an honest budget, no gimmicks. It was a balanced budget. It was an on-time budget, which is an extraordinary accomplishment in Albany. It closed a $10 billion deficit without raising taxes or borrowing. It ended what was called automatic inflators in the budget. The reason the state budget was always out of kilter, the state budget had built in 14% inflation year after year. And when you have built into a budget that the programs are going to go up 14%, you're never going to catch up. And that's what was happening with the state. We introduced performance funding. It's not just how much money you spend, it's what you're getting for the money. And we're bringing performance funding to government, and we started to focus on rebuilding the economy all across this state. There's more to be done. Reforming Albany, phase 2. Number 1, focusing on the first goal of getting the economy running. We started by getting taxes under control with the state budget. The state budget focused on state taxes, state costs, obviously. And we closed that budget with no new state taxes. But now we must turn to local governments, town, villages, school districts all across the state. New York's hidden tax, and a tax that I think is especially dangerous for the state, is the property tax cap, property taxes. It is the highest in the nation. When you look at the taxes paid by counties in the state versus counties across the nation, the top 15 highest tax counties are all in the state of New York. Nassau County, as the county executive mentioned, number 1 in absolute dollars in the nation. Highest tax county in the nation. Westchester 2nd, Rockland is 5th. Nassau, the highest tax, 361% higher than the median. Suffolk, 281% higher than the median. All the counties in the state of New York are in the top 20% in the country, believe it or not. Median U.S. property tax bill, 1,900. New York, 3,700, 96% higher. When you look at the rate of increase over a 5-year period, average annual increase, rate of inflation 2.9, that's the rate that is the index of what most things are going up, 2.9%. County taxes have been going up 5.7. Look at the end of the chart. School tax increase 7.5% per year. That is per year. Fire district 7.6. Village taxes 6.2. You can't afford these level of increases anymore. That's what's driving the tax burden through the roof. That's what's chasing New Yorkers from their home. This is what has to stop. New York has no economic future as the tax capital of the nation, period. There was a public opinion poll conducted just last week. Listen to this. 36% of those 30 years old or under say that there is no future in the state and they plan to move within the next 5 years because New York is unaffordable. 36% of our young people. 26% of all people say they plan to leave the state in the next 5 years because it's too expensive. Just think of the consequence of those numbers. And it's not just a residential tax. People think of the property tax as a residential tax. It's also the highest business tax. And when you wonder why businesses are leaving the state or businesses say New York is inhospitable, corporate income tax in New York State, businesses pay $3 billion. They're paying $16 billion in property taxes. So they're paying more than 5 times in property taxes what they're paying in corporate income tax. What's the answer? I believe it's very simple. I believe the state legislature needs to pass a cap, a property tax cap, which would cap the growth of the taxes at no more than 2% per year increase. So your property taxes couldn't go up 2%, more than 2%, unless the tax cap was overridden by 60% vote of the local body, whatever that is. In other words, there's a school district vote, let's say. There would be a 2% cap on the school district where the taxes couldn't go up more than 2% unless the vote was higher than 60%. Well, why don't you make the vote 50%? And if it's over 50, no, I want it over 60. Why? Because for once, I want the deck stacked in the favor of the taxpayers. And if they're going to raise taxes, if you want to exceed the cap and you want an increase of more than 2%, then you should get more than a 60% vote or 60% of the local legislative body. This idea is not new. Massachusetts did this with great success. Massachusetts enacted a tax cap in 1980. It was the second most taxed state in the nation. Remember, Massachusetts used to be called Tax-achusetts? Second highest tax state in the nation. Today, Massachusetts is 23rd in the nation. We need fiscal discipline, and we also need a new attitude. It's not just how much money government spends. It's what government is doing with that money. Only in government is there this mentality that the more we spend, the better. Life doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in your home. It's not you just don't spend more money, let me pay more money for a service or for a product. That doesn't mean you're necessarily getting better. You shop. You want to know the results. You want to know the performance. You want an economy. You want an efficiency. Only government thinks, let me spend more money and that'll be better. It's not necessarily better. And government never looks at the performance and never looks at the results. That has to change. Education is important. We spend more money in education than any state in the nation. More money per pupil than any state in the nation. We're number 34 in terms of results. But we keep spending more money, more money, more money. Well, the performance is no good. Spend more money. No, that's not the answer. Find out why you're not performing. Find out why you're not achieving. Don't just spend more money for the sake of spending more money. To go back to Massachusetts comparison again, New York spends 28% more per student on education, 28% more. New York is 40th in graduation rates, Massachusetts is 14th. Massachusetts is first in test scores, and New York is 25th. When you talk about school spending, which is a major driver of property taxes, since 1996, so a significant period of time, look at the last column. Public school enrollment has gone down 4%. Why? That's a matter of demographics, fewer school-age children. Spending has gone up 120%. Number of teachers has gone up about 10%. And number of supervisors has gone up 34%. 34%. The bureaucracy bloats the bureaucracy. The front office bloats the front office. If this was a private sector corporation we're looking at here, you would be looking at a private sector corporation where the management grew and the layers of management grew, and it outpaced the business of the corporation, and this would be a corporation that is either bankrupt or going out of business. That's what this would be. Because it's government and there is no competition, and no one has been looking at the results, this has been allowed to happen year after year after year, and this year it has to stop, my friends. To go with the property tax cap, we need something called mandate relief. Mandate relief is reducing the number of burdens the state poses on local governments. John Kamen will talk to you about chapter and verse about this, and he's right. And we also need pension reform because the cost of public pensions is going through the roof. It is unsustainable. Mandate relief, we have a mandate redesign team that's working on it to remove the unnecessary mandates. Pension reform, just look at these numbers. 1998, 1999, we spent $1.3 billion. It's going to $6 billion in 2013, 2014. We're going to need to change the pension system. I'm going to introduce a bill shortly that is going to reduce the pension benefits in the out years and stop a process called pension padding that I investigated as Attorney General, which pads the pension in the out years going forward. Second, we have to clean up Albany, ethics reform. There's been a long line of disgraced politicians. I was very active in public integrity cases when I was Attorney General for 4 years, and I know better than anyone how bad it's been. Rather than just doing case after case, we need to now restore faith in the system. We have part-time legislators. That's in the Constitution, which means what? Which means they're part-time assemblymen, part-time senators, but they can have a business on the side. They can be a lawyer, they can be a businessman. Fine, that's the law. But the question is, who else do they represent as a lawyer? Are they representing any of these people before the state? And is there a conflict? Because we have seen conflict after conflict for many, many years. Disclose who you represent. How much do they pay you? And for what? People have a right to know. And if the legislature refuses to answer the question, then in my opinion, they just did by the refusal to answer. I proposed ethics reform, and the position of the legislature is they don't need ethics reform because they have their own legislative ethics committee, and that they can police and monitor themselves. Since 2007, the Legislative Ethics Committee has never taken a real action. And since 2007, there has been a long line of assemblymen and senators indicted, found guilty, cases that I did, cases that other prosecutors did, and not a peep from the Legislative Ethics Committee. Self-policing, my friends, is an oxymoron. There is no such concept of self-policing. By definition, we need an independent monitor to review these conflicts, to restore faith so you know you have a government you can trust, and we need it this year. New York, for many, many years, was the home of social progress in this nation. New York really did make the first progressive steps, and then the other states followed us. When you look at the great progressive movements, most of them started here in the state of New York. The environmental movement started on the Storm King crisis on the Hudson River, formed an environmental community that then went across the country. Women's rights movement, Seneca Falls, workers' rights movement, after the Triangle Factory fire. There is a civil rights issue, I believe, that is on the agenda today, and that is marriage equality. One day we're going to look back at this and say we can't believe that at one time it was illegal. Remember, at one time, it was illegal in some states for blacks and whites to marry each other. It wasn't until 1968 that the Supreme Court acted and said it was illegal, unconstitutional, for states to bar interracial marriages. That was just 1968. I believe this is going to be a similar situation. Right now, other states have been leading the way. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Iowa, Vermont, New Hampshire, all passed marriage equality. It's time New York catches up. Equality for all New Yorkers. Let's pass marriage equality. To recap, the agenda is about getting the economy running. It's about cleaning up Albany. It's about social progress. Now is the time to do it. June 20th is D-Day. It's the last day of the legislative session. It's when the legislators leave. We need to get it done by then. My message to you is tell your legislators either pass these bills or don't come home. Sometimes it's that simple. In closing, the simple truth of all of this. There's always a simple truth. I was having a discussion with one of my daughters a few days ago. On the telephone, she's at school. She's in high school. And she was starting to explain to me a situation. And she was taking one set of courses with one set of friends. And then there was another set of friends. And they were upset that she was taking courses with the other friends. And she's trying to explain this to me. And then she said, you know what? You know, Dad, you wouldn't understand. It's too complicated. You know, she's 16 and I'm the simpleton, you see. I'm just, because I only deal with simple things, because I have a simple mind. But I said to her, you know, Mariah, maybe I don't understand about your friends and the courses and the great social dynamic that is at work in these high school classes. But I said, you know, forget all the specifics. There is always a fundamental truth to a situation. There's always a right and a wrong. There's always a principle at stake. And the trick is to find that principle and to find the right. And if you listen, you will hear it. Sometimes it doesn't come from your mind. Sometimes it comes from your heart. Sometimes it comes from your gut. But there's always a fundamental truth. Here we're talking about complex issues, but there is a fundamental, simple truth to all of this. This ethics issue, it comes down to trust. That's what it comes down to. These are your elected officials. This is your government. You don't trust this state government anymore. Why? Because there's been year after year after scandal after scandal. You've opened the newspaper every day for the past 5, 6, 7 years, and another assemblyman, another senator, another politician getting into trouble. And we've lost the trust of the people. And government doesn't work without trust. No relationship works without trust. I don't care what the relationship is. It could be husband and wife, it could be friends, whatever it is. If you don't have trust, it doesn't work. And we don't have trust, and we have to restore trust. And it doesn't matter how many politicians get up and give speeches, you're not going to trust this government until there's a new system in place where you can say, if somebody does the wrong thing, we're going to find out, and this government represents me, and I have that faith restored. That's what ethics is all about. The property tax cap is about respect. It's about respect for the taxpayer. It's about respect for their situation. It's about respect for their tax dollar. How dare you ask the taxpayers of this state for a 7% increase every year, 14% increase every year? Where is the taxpayer supposed to get that money? Where in that taxpayer's life are they getting increases of 7%, 10%, 14%? Is their income going up 7%? Is their house value going up 7%? Is their bank account going up 7%? Well, where are they supposed to get the money? So cap it and live within your means, government, just like every New Yorker has to live within their means. And that's a matter of respect. These issues I didn't make up. This is the people's agenda. This is what the people of the state of New York want. I was Attorney General for 4 years. I went all across the state. I was campaigning for a year. I was all across the state. People came up to me and said, please cap my property taxes. I can't afford to live in my house anymore. Please give me a government we can trust. This is what the people of the state want. And the government, theoretically, is supposed to do what the people want done, and this is their agenda. This, my friends, comes down to a battle for the control of the government. This is the people's agenda, and the question is, who's going to win? Will the citizens' work be done, or will the lobbyists' work be done? Will the people's agenda be executed, or will the politicians' agenda be executed? That's what this is all about. Who is going to win? Will the people be put first? That is up to you. Because a democracy works when you make it work. And it is a simple, but it is a beautiful system. The people's voice wins. But the people have to speak up. And I'm here with one very simple message. Please, please speak up. Make your voice heard. Because there's a whole room full of lobbyists in Albany right now as we're in this room. And the lobbyists are walking the hallways. And the lobbyists are pigeonholing the politicians. And the lobbyists are making campaign contributions. And the lobbyists are using their influence. You have more. Your voice is stronger when you choose to use it. The stakes are too high not to use it this year. You speak up. We pass this agenda. This state is going to be on a new trajectory to reach a higher place than it's ever reached before. And we will make the Empire State once again. Thank you, and God bless you.